Shut up and sit down.
Hello, welcome to the Squared Ring Podcast. Of course, you know who I am, the Big Texan. We got Bobby D, the little co-conspirator here, and we have a special guest tonight, Mr. Referee Bill Henson, otherwise known as William, right? Is that what we called him today?
Well, I've been called a lot of things, but hey, as long as you don't call me late for dinner, that's all that counts.
He was allowed to type anything in for his name. That's what he chose. So he's Sir Williams today.
Well, that's my government name, but yes, call me Bill. You can call me whatever you want to call me.
All right. Well, we'll just call you our special guest tonight. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. So, as you guys know, Bill is one of the referees for the SICW organization. Once a year, he's been bringing us to his local town of Sandoval, Illinois. And we got...
Real quick.
Sure.
I do want to point out, with him being a referee, you all see he wears glasses. He just doesn't wear them in the ring.
Oh, nice catch. Anyhow,
don't worry, we have that in common.
His show this year is coming up this Saturday. Does it start? Doors open at 6, bell time at 7 still?
Yes, that's correct. Doors open at 6, bell time at 7, and then we're going to be nonstop action all the way.
All right. So I do have the latest card, but as everyone knows, card is always subject to change. But prior to getting into that, we want to know a little bit more about Bill. Because I know Bill has a history in the wrestling. I know he's refereed some other organizations, and he has met some legends in the business as well. So, Bill, when did you start to get into wrestling, or when did you start to love the business?
Oh man, you know what? I knew I was going to get asked that question, so I had to think about that today. And I'm going to throw a number out there, and it may be right, it may be wrong, but nobody here knows anyway. So I'm going to say around 1975, because I was probably around 8 years old, and I started watching wrestling at Chase with my parents, with my grandparents. My grandparents loved it. My grandma was one of them little old ladies that if it happened in the ring, it was really happening. And if the bad guy was a bad guy, he was just a piece of, you know what, he was a bad guy. And like any other little lady, she wanted to beat them. Well, that got me, and you know, I just loved it. I fell in love with the sport of wrestling. You know, yeah, I like baseball, I like football, I like all that stuff, but wrestling, the one-to-one action, I just loved it. The storylines, I loved it. And
how old were you, Bill?
I was about 8 years old when I first started watching. Then I got to actually go to my first real match, as an NWA match over at Salem High School. And Omar Atlas and Hercules Hernandez was the first match I got to see live. And Hercules. I just hooked. Yeah. I know those couple names in the past, but Hercules Hernandez, before he was WWE, he was working for Bob Geigel. And Bob Geigel was in the building that night. So I remember Roger Kirby, bunch of the guys that was over that night. Harley Race was there that night. I mean, it was awesome. We just, you know, I was in love with the business.
Now, I got to ask, because I've been to Sandoval many a times. It's like a small community. Mm-hmm. How did that community pull off getting the NWA to show up to that town?
Well, again, I'm sorry, I may have misspoke. It was at Salem High School where I saw the NWA. So that was actually, I remember, March 10th, 1983. I'll never forget it. I just had a visitor jump in my lap. I'm sorry. Get rid of her.
It's all right. Oh, we all got pets roaming around. So,
but yeah, it was March 10th, 1983 when NWA came to Salem, and they were coming to Centralia and Salem area. ICW, Popple's ICW has come to the area. And I got a funny Chester McLaughlin Chaz Wesson story, since he's been popping up on the Facebook here lately. Thanks to our good friend Chris Bradford, aka Sean Vincent. But she's back. Anyway, yeah, I fell in love with the business just because of old school wrestling, which is what SICW put on. And man, I haven't stopped loving it. I'm still a fan today. First and foremost, I'm a fan. I love this business.
So what's the story that you got about Chaz?
Well, I can't remember the year. I want to say around 84, 85. And if Chaz hears this, he can't deny it. Well, Randy Macho Man Savage, and I don't remember who he was working with that night, but anyway, it might have been Speed Manson, somebody like that. But Chaz got a little excited. He was a kid at that time. He wasn't in the business yet. Grabbed a steel chair, and I think it was Randy Savage that he hit over the back with the chair.
No
So they,
way.
yeah, they took him there in the old community center and had a little heart-to-heart talk with him. But it didn't deter him. He obviously, he went on and got to the business. And but I always remember that. I was there that night when that happened.
So that sounds like Chaz.
Yep. Chaz got a little carried away, and unfortunately, he was a minor, and they couldn't. They just had a heart-to-heart come to Jesus meeting with him.
Come to Jesus. Ooh.
Definitely not the last time he swung a chair.
No.
I'm surprised he swung a chair and didn't chop him or something.
Well, he's a kid, so they had to be nice. But no, we in this area in Centralia and Salem, and one of Herb's good friends, I just went brain dead. Larry ran the funeral home. Larry Irvin ran the funeral home. Used to bring NWA. He used to sponsor NWA coming to Centralia through the Shriners here in Centralia, but also through Salem. And again, I met a lot of people from Chris Adams to all the old NWA wrestling chase guys that used to come in. Got to meet Bob Geigel. Of course, I was just a kid, but we had fun with it. We just really enjoyed our wrestling here in this area.
That is crazy because it's not. I mean, even Salem's not like a huge big town, and to have Macho Man's group, his dad's group come up, had the NWA come up. I mean, that's just crazy to be able to meet those guys.
Oh, it was. Got to see them all before they were big WWE superstars. So.
All right, so we normally ask this question, but I can already see where we're going to go. Growing up, were you a WWF kid or a WCW kid?
I was an NWA kid.
Really?
I'm 55. I was NWA when we got cable in 1982, and that's my first exposure to Georgia Championship Wrestling prior to WCW. And I fell in love with the Tommy Riches, the Ole Andersons, Mass Superstars, Wrestling 2, and all those guys. And I eventually did, and then I'm sorry, let me back up here a little bit. Then I got to watch Texas Wrestling, WCCW.
Right.
And Freebird Von Erichs, I think it was 1984. That was just awesome. Again, I kept falling in love with business because everything I was exposed to. I mean, I grew up in the best, in my opinion, the best time to be a wrestling fan. All these guys were at their prime.
Sounds like this was your year to go to California Holly Club. We had a bunch of the guys from Texas there.
Oh, I know, and I wish I could have made it. But Nick and I, we chose to go to the NWA show in St. Louis and have a little fun. And somebody had to stay back and keep an eye on St. Louis.
I get you. Man, that is a great time because that was like right before the territory system ended.
Yes.
So you got to before McMahon came and gobbled up everyone. So
Right.
Yeah, I mean that was a great time. Bobby, I don't even think you were born yet in 83, 84.
Nope.
And this night, and again at March of '83, that's when I went out back and I saw Harley race and some of the boys sitting in the back of Harley's van drinking beer, and I just marked out. I geeked out. I loved it.
Did you see a drill sergeant there?
If I did, I don't remember.
That's right. He's a non-rememberable guy, anyway. So, but
yeah.
So did you have the balls to go up to them and ask for their autograph or anything like that?
Well, not outside the arena, but of course in the arena, yeah. And one of I got it here. Of course, got a cat in my lap. I can't open the drawer, but I got a Inside Wrestling that Kerry Von Erich signed for me. I can't remember Centralia or Salem with one of the shows. But anyways, right after he dropped the title back to Flair, and anyway, he had a picture of him with the title on him, and he signed it for me. So I still have that to this day. And then it's been several years ago, Harley Race's organization came over here. I think it's WLW. Is that right? Am I saying that?
WLW. Yep.
Okay, WLW. And Harley actually signed 2 different magazines because I used to collect wrestling magazines. I've had them since I was a kid. And I had 2 different ones with Harley holding the belt, and he signed both of them for me. So those are 2 of my more precious collections I have.
Wow. I used to collect the magazines. And I tell you, I had totes and totes of magazines that I had, and I actually ended up selling mine to Herb. Herb bought all my magazines that I had. But I do have a couple of the Wrestling at the Chase flyers
Yeah.
that they used to hand out, and I was able to get Harley Race to sign. It actually was pretty cool because I had Harley on one page, and if you flip it over, it talked about Ric Flair. So I
Right.
got Harley to sign under his picture and Ric Flair to sign under his.
That's
The
awesome.
only thing that sucks is there's no way to actually display it because the signatures are on opposite,
Right.
pages.
Clear sleeve, hang it from the ceiling.
Hang it from
Exactly.
the ceiling.
You know,
All
and
right. Yeah.
one other quick story of my high school graduation. That was May of 1986. All the other kids are going to go out and celebrate. No, me and my friends, we loaded up in my old 72 Ford Pinto, and we ran over to Central High School, Bruiser Brody versus Ric Flair main event. We got there just in time to watch that.
Oh my
Watch Brody
God.
and Flair. Then got to meet Flair out in the parking lot afterwards. So,
I mean, I'm kind of jealous because I'm wearing a Kerry Von Erich shirt. This
sure.
is it's one guy I loved. I did catch him in the WCCW days, watching him on TV, and then I thought the world of him once he made it to the WWF. I thought finally he was going to explode bigger than where he already had in Texas. Um, but we all know that came up a little short on that end on his WWF days. But man, to see Brody and Flair go at it too,
Oh, yeah.
that's jealous. I'm kind of jealous of you now.
So I
And
said, that was a
so
good
now
day.
we're gonna end this. No,
No, that was the good days when they brought the action right to our hometown. I mean, I had a great childhood. If I died today, I could say I had a great childhood.
oh, that's
And
awesome.
you know what though? And as good as that was, what Herb allows me to do today is, you know, I'm so appreciative of it. And I'm getting to live my dream of, getting to work behind the curtain and behind the scenes and be part of the action.
Hey, and what do you guys think about the announcement this week that Fan Fest Part 2
Yes.
next year, next May? I mean, we had 48. I mean, it was scheduled 50, but we had a couple guys. One of them was really ill. God, I can't think. Is the Texan guy,
Black Bart.
Black Bart. He was very ill, which I heard through the CAC because me and Bobby went to like we said, the CAC this year was pretty much about Texas and Canadian wrestling, and JBL announced that Black Bart has like fully recovered. So there's no signs of cancer in him. So I mean that's a miracle and a half right there. So
Yeah.
and then Ron Powers, I think, was the other guy that wasn't able to make it. Which Ron is a guy who's been all over the world too, Puerto Rico, Japan, WCW, WWF. And of course, he made his home in SICW. Um, but yeah, so it would have been great to have both of those guys there. But
Right.
48 is still a remarkable number. And if you guys know Herb like I know Herb, he always tries to outdo himself. And I don't know how he's going to outdo it this time, but
Oh, I already put my RSVP in. I'm going.
well, I'm hoping to be defending, SICW Classic Champion at that show.
Well, and you can't see it, but I have a cup to defend too.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bill, so I childhood is amazing. How did you get into the wrestling business?
How did I get to it? I was working up in Pontiac, Illinois, as a correctional officer, and I met a guy by the name Howard Brackney. Now, whether everything Howard told me was truth or not, I don't know. He's passed away. But Howard said he used to wrestle in WCW under a mask called the Ninja. He said he used to train with Ricky Steamboat. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But anyway, he took a few of us and he started training us a little bit, taught us how to bump, some things like that. But then Howard got sick and he went his way, I went my way, and I kind of got out of it a little bit, but then I got back into it in the late 90s, working with Scott Little, who wrestled as the California Kid. Well, going back to Howard, he let me referee. I actually refereed my first match, Spike Huber and Rip Rogers. That's it. Spike Huber and Rip Rogers up in Dwight, Illinois. And we had,
That's
that's the
two
first
great
time.
wrestlers for your first time.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Them guys were a blast. We had a great time. But then I got back into it with ICW with Scott Little, California kid. We put shows on in Sandoval. He allowed me the opportunity to referee, and we had fun with it. But it wasn't like every week thing. It was spontaneous, or what I want to say, sporadic. That's what I'm looking for, sporadic. And so I got my feet wet, between Howard Brackney up north and then ICW around here, and then a couple other smaller federations. MPW had a guy went by Lucky Dane, and allowed me the opportunity to work with them. And of course, then I got to meet Herb, and actually I ran into Herb at the Harley Race Show, introduced myself, and then I ran into him again over here in Belleville a few years ago, and just kind of started working things out to where I'm at today.
Well, I mean, and what a great spot you're in, because for the longest time, Herb is a very stickler on his referees and on his managers, and he's been kind of opening up the doors here of late, and I guess it's because a lot of the referees are getting booked other places, so it's always good to have, 3 or 4 in the dressing room just to make sure you have enough for all the matches. We just got to work with you, maybe wearing contacts in the ring or something. That
Well, I was thinking about putting a old man strap on these.
That's awesome. Well, the big show this Saturday. Man, you got some. I don't know. Have you seen the card? Do you know who's?
I know a few of the matches. So besides,
Do you know what the main event is?
I heard it was some AIWF guy, Golden Boy, somebody. Yeah.
Some world champion, might be.
Like that.
Yeah, but all right. So now, like I said, card is always subject to change. But as of right now, we got someone who Bobby is very, very well known with. Vincent and Glenn Williams. Yeah, I know. We might as well talk about it because we didn't talk about it last week. So if you didn't catch this month's show, Bobby pretty much got duped. So Bobby had a match with Peyton Ayers, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was wrestling. Well, earlier in the night, Sean Vincent comes out, says he's going to retire, calls me out to shake his hand and everything's like, no, not after everything. Just be on your way. So then later on, I'm defending my title against Peyton Ayers, and Jake Prater came in and helped him. And so Sean Vincent comes in with a chair, swings it on him. They get out of there, they bail. He saved my butt, so went ahead and shook his hand afterwards. And as I go to get out of the ring, kicks that rope right into my nuts.
Mm.
Yeah.
Then he starts laying in with the chair. Here comes Glenn Williams with the chair, and then Concerto onto my head.
Well, I'm hoping there's a little payback, and I think we're scheduled to go against them. Is it? It's actually on the 30th of this month, isn't it?
Yep.
I believe so.
It'll be you and me versus Peyton Ayers and Sean Vincent. Get both of them back in there.
Holy Rosary, right?
Holy Family Church.
Holy Family. That's the one in Cahokia.
Yep, right there on the corner of Camp Jackson and Route 3.
All right, so we'll hopefully get you a little payback. But hopefully the Top Guns can soften them up for you, because that's who they got that night. Now, I've been with the Top Guns, this past Tuesday, we were all sitting around and talking, and they were talking about how this is their actually 1-year anniversary, because they started as a tag team last year when Bill brought SICW to Sandoval. And so they were very much I guess they were reminiscing about this past year and how they started, and how you can tell if you watched their match last year, they weren't picking up on each other's grooves yet. They weren't meshing too well, but they've been working their asses off this year, and they are ready to fire on Vincent and Glenn Williams and kind of show everyone how much they improved in a year's time. So that should actually be a really good match.
I hope they squash them good.
Yeah, as a referee, I know I'm supposed to be neutral, unbiased, but I got to admit, I got some beef with Sean Vincent. As you know, I trained with you guys a little bit last year, and then Sean Vincent in a match sucker punched me, took a chair to me, hurt my shoulder. I ended up having surgery on my shoulder. So I can't help but have beef with Sean Vincent. I'm sorry.
You're not the only one. Everyone around seems to have beef with him. He's one of those cocky little sons of bitches that likes to run his mouth. And it's about time some people start cashing in some checks and taking it off of him,
So, if I were to his matches, I may look the other way if something bad happened to him and I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
We can't hear that.
No, I'll call it right down the middle.
Don't cost yourself a job now.
But sometimes the fans will distract you. Sometimes they do.
Yeah, you just can't tell people ahead of time they distracted you.
No, never.
Then we got a kind of a newcomer. He's been around a couple months. Yellow Jacket. He is going to go against Curtis Wild. So that should be interesting because Curtis Wild is another, like, I guess you'd say, outgoing individual. And we don't really know much about this Yellow Jacket. He's never had an interview with us, so we haven't heard him speak. And we do know that he's pretty young. At least he looks young in the ring. But it'd be interesting to see, because I know Curtis, we had him on the podcast, and he's been talking about retirement. So you got one wrestler who is thinking about, rounding down his career or ending his career, and we got a newcomer who's trying to do anything he can to get his name out there and, get him well known or at least known at all. I
think I heard Lucky P say he has a stinger.
Okay.
You hear all kinds. You watch them shows on Sunday night. You'll hear all kinds of weird commentary.
All right.
Then
we got our very own Bobby D. He's going against a very well-known Harley guy, Steve Fender. Man, that's gonna be a hard-hitting match because I too have wrestled Fender many a times, and I even got a steel cage match going with Fender next month. So hopefully you can do me a favor and soften him up. But
I plan on it. But if there's ever been anyone that's pushed me to my limits, it's been Fender. He makes you dig deep. The dude is a veteran in that ring. He's got counters to counters. It's going to be a hell of a match.
Well, like I said, next month I got him in a steel cage, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, I will like it if you can soften him up for us. So be much obliged.
Well, it's hard to counter a lariat to the head, so.
That's true. and see, that's too what I'm thinking is, Steve Fender. Just a little backstory on him. He actually had to have neck surgery, so he's actually. I don't know if he fused a couple of discs in his neck or not. And not to say that I'm going to knock his head off. However, if it comes down to me losing the strap or knocking his head off, I'm going to choose knocking his head off. Small things like that. But I do know, being trained by Harley Race, he can pull anything out of his sleeve and out of his pocket because he is that damn good. What do you think about Fender? You refed probably some of his matches already.
Bobby D said it. He's a veteran. He's talented. One of the most talented men in the locker room when it comes just a pure wrestler. Unfortunately, he's got a little bit of an attitude problem, but he's a great wrestler. I mean, you can't help but love working with the
guy. He too was also a former classic wrestling champion. Former wrestling champion versus the current. We'll see how that goes next month. But so hopefully Bobby can knock him down a peg or two. We got one half of Masculinity, I think is their tag team name. Mike Masters.
Toxic Masculinity.
What was it?
Toxic Masculinity.
Toxic. masculinity. All right. Axe, I've seen Axe many a times, wrestle Axe many a times. I've never wrestled Mike Masters yet. Now he does, he looks like a veteran. Looks like he's been around a while, but you never know. Looks could be deceiving. So, but he's going against a true veteran in the St. Louis area, a former GCW wrestler, Mr. Jason Breed. So that should be interesting to me because I've seen Jason wrestle many times. Now, like I said, I haven't wrestled Mike, but I've watched his matches because they've been going against the top guns here lately, and I've been seeing how they've been interacting with them. And it seems like that should be a pretty good one. Let's see, Peyton Ayers versus Gary Jackson. Now this one I think is going to be a little retribution for Gary, because Gary, you guys remember, he just had that flag laid on him. He just had that fireball that I got a couple months ago blown in his face, and it was due to Peyton Ayers. It was due to um, not well, Attila was there, and what's his other Sheik Prater. So hopefully Gary Jackson, hopefully his injuries are all come down and he's healed. It's been a little bit, so I'm hoping. I know we've seen him on TV last Sunday, but he was all bandaged up Sunday, so we'll see if Gary is fully healed. But he's going to take on Peyton Ayers, so that's going to be a good match. Peyton's a very big guy. I've wrestled him plenty of times. It's always a good match between me and him. And I was kind of trained by Gary Jackson, so I know how Gary can work in the ring. And I always tell Gary too, to his face and to anyone, that guy's got the stiffest kicks I ever taken. If you ever take a kick from Gary, you make sure you turn your head and try to take that kick to the cheek or to the side of the face, because man, he'll bloody your nose or knock out a tooth, or because he wears, well, any given day he could be wearing his motorcycle boots to the ring, and he wrestles in those. Then he also has wrestling boots, but I've taken those motorcycle boots to the face a few times, and he's pretty damn stiff. But I'm hoping Gary Jackson gets a little bit of revenge. Not that Gary can throw a fireball at Peyton, but it would be nice if he can pull some out of his pocket and get a little revenge out of that. Now, we got another new guy, Shane Douglas. Woo! Sean Douglas. I want to say Shane Douglas is new.
He's been around
Shane
before.
Douglas is pretty much retired, I think, right now. I think every now and then you can get him back in the ring. But Sean Douglas is going to be there, and he's going to take on our Billy McNeil. So that should be interesting because Billy McNeil is a high flyer. I don't think Sean gets on the ropes at all, pretty much. I think he's just a pretty much straight mat technician. But it'd be interesting because, again, Billy doesn't look like a veteran, but he has been in the St. Louis wrestling scene forever, probably at least 20, 25 years. Because I know, there was a post on him that I've seen either today or yesterday that he was a GCW light heavyweight champion multiple times. So in GCW, that was the wrestling organization that got me interested in becoming a worker or a wrestler. I tell the story all the times that I went to go see some wrestling by myself. I was 17, I think, and being on the Illinois side, I didn't really like traveling to the St. Louis side by myself because I'm easily get lost in the traffic and the highways and everything. But I knew a particular night that GCW was going to be wrestling close by, so I drove over to St. Louis, and I ended up stopping off at South Broadway and MMWA because they had a big marquee that said "Wrestling Here Tonight." So I walked in and I seen wrestling was going on, but I knew something wasn't right about it. So I asked the lady at the door, I said, "Is this GCW?" And she goes, "No, it's just a couple blocks down the road." So I left and went down to GCW. And it's probably the best thing too, because GCW was just crazy back in the day. This place that I went to had a balcony in the back, and this is a small building, and I don't know what it was before, but they had a balcony that was probably used for storage. Um, and there was a guy, Kamikaze, jumped off that balcony into the ring onto another wrestler. I was like, oh my god, you guys got me hooked. Yeah, it's crazy.
The first GCW I went to, which Billy McNeil was on, you had Dingo give somebody a pile driver off the middle rope onto a shopping cart laying on its side in the ring.
Wow.
But you talk about Billy McNeil and all the stuff they would do there. One of the guys that was also a light heavyweight champion there that I'm sure Billy crossed paths with quite a bit, Matt Seidel / Evan Bourne.
That's true.
So he's been sharpened by some of the best around.
Yeah. I remember seeing him because he was there that night. And, what was so cool about the GCW shows is, after the show, the wrestlers would just mingle with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, that night, Kevin X was their champion at the time. And he was actually standing at the front door, pretty much thanking all the people for coming in to the show. This is before the show started. So the champion was at the front door welcoming every, fan. And I thought that was very interesting and never left my mind about that, too. I just thought that was uncommon that the champion was doing that. But yeah, I mean, GCW, I don't know, Bill, if you say it, but GCW was a mix of old school and a little mix of some crazy hardcore stuff because, they had, who was it? Rob Van Dam was in there a few times. Nova, aka Simon Dean, they would bring him in. Probably leaving out some other ECW stars. But Big Bad Ben, the owner of the company, worked for ECW for a little while, so he had a good connection with them. So he would bring them in every now and then, or whenever they were crossing over into St. Louis. But yeah, great times. And since we're bringing up GCW a few times, there's a benefit show, a memorial show for Big Bad Ben that SICW is partnering with, and that show is going to be in October. I'm sure we'll talk about that later on, but we're gonna bring it to the Collinsville, Illinois area. So look for that. SICW.org has got a list of all the show dates, and I'm sure that date is on there.
It's October 28th. That Ben Oliver show's October 28th.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, and then,
you would know. You got to be there too.
Yep.
And then just a quick blurb about that.
Go ahead.
I was going to say a quick blurb about that show is all proceeds are going to the Big Ben Memorial Bench. Anything left over beyond what it costs to make that bench is going to the Rottweiler Foundation, which he was a big part of as well. So when we say a benefit show, it literally is all proceeds go to the benefit.
Yeah, I got asked today how much I would charge them to book me, and I was like, for this show, don't even worry about it. It's all going to the Rottweiler Association or to the bench. I know we're gonna blow past the money that he's gonna need for the bench to be made. So to me, it's all gonna go to that Rottweiler Foundation. And if anyone knows, I'm a big dog lover. I got 3 dogs here. They are aggravating at times, but I do love them.
I love Rottweilers. My grandma had one when I was growing up. She was my 200-pound lap dog.
I've always had a thing for black labs. I'm on my 3rd one. My favorite dog was a black lab, but I had multiple dogs growing up, so good times. It looks like you're a cat person, Bill, right?
I'm a dog person. I got my 2 dogs right over here. They're having their own little wrestling match going on right now. But no, I got a couple cats, couple dogs. You know, I'm like you guys. I love animals, man. I love my animals. So I'm all
Yeah,
about, you know, anytime we can raise money to go towards animals, I'm all in.
yeah. And so you're a mix like me because I got 3 dogs and 2 cats. We kind of keep them separated because one of the cats is like pretty mellow. I mean, he would just love to just to sit down next to an AC vent or the heater vent, depending on what season it is. But the other one loves to initiate some stuff with the dogs. So he'll actually, we keep the dogs kind of to the first floor, and the cats take over the second floor. And of course, the dogs can go freely in and out of the house as they want. But the cat likes to jump into their area and try to escape. So we got to kind of watch that. But because none of our cats have gone outside.
Right.
Yeah. Now, I used to have a cat. We used to call him Toby, not to get off the subject, but he was probably the only cat that we would open the door for. He would go visit the neighborhood and come back. You know,
There you
he was a
go.
pretty cool one. But anyway, yeah, way off the subject here. So, all right, so down to the last 2 matches. This is the first time, and I didn't know about this until 2 days ago. But actually, Attila has got his rematch clause in effect. So it's actually going to be me versus Attila for the belt this Saturday. So, I haven't seen Attila. I mean, I've seen him, but I've never faced Attila since I took the strap off of him. And, since then, he's been kind of off the rails. It's really no rules obliged to I mean, he doesn't follow any rules now. He's just crazy. And like I said, Gary Jackson was his last victim. Him and Stephen E got to him with the fireball, and then able to put that flag over Gary. Totally disrespectful since Gary was in the military. But so he's cashed in his rematch clause, and so we're gonna go at it. And then we got the big one. And when I say big, it's because one half of this match is a big one. You got the 450-pound Kowalski versus the world heavyweight champion of Greg, the Golden Boy Anthony.
Right.
And to top it all off, that wasn't good because you got the world heavyweight belt on the line against the 450-pound Kowalski. It's going to be wrapped up into a steel cage.
Right.
So we'll see how bloody. I mean, it's at a high school, so I'm hoping they kind of restrain themselves. But Bobby last year went all over the building with Kowalski. So I can't imagine how crazy. I mean, you got security at this show? Is there
You
going to
know, we
be?
are going to have security at the show, actually. And, and talk about Bobby Kowalski. People are still talking about that match. People still tell me this day, remember that big guy came up in this thing, they couldn't remember that big guy. And of course, they weren't talking about Bobby. He's the little guy when he got Kowalski. But no, they were talking about that match, how exciting that was. And they are so stoked for this return of SICW. Ticket sales are going really good. And you know how it is in independent wrestling. Sometimes ticket sales don't go as quick as you'd like. I was a little discouraged last year until the day of the event because then we picked up. We had a really good turnout. This year, the whole, not just Sando, but the whole community, Centralia, Salem, Carlisle, everybody's talking about coming to see SICW. Speaking of Carlisle, Herb was in a place today called Signatures. The guy owns a bar, and it's just nothing but wrestling memorabilia. And this guy has been plugging this show for me over in that area. And like you said, we're going to blow the roof off the building with everything we've got going on, and we're bringing in some of the best from SICW. Not just because you're here, but I would say if you weren't here, Big Texan, Bobby D, Attila Khan, the AIWF World Heavyweight Champion, Greg Anthony, and then this big monster of a man, 450 pounds Kowalski. And Bobby D, Big Texan, you guys both been in the ring with him. You know how tough this man is. And you know what? And this is not the first time we've had a steel cage in Sandoval. We've done it before. The fans in Sandoval love their wrestling, and the more violent it is, the more they love it. But yes, we're in a high school. We're going to try to keep the blood to a minimum. You know what? You know what? People say what they want to say, but you can't predict what's going to happen in a wrestling match, and anything could happen. So, like ECW used to say, let the bodies hit the floor, and it's going to happen, and we're going to have some fun. So I can't wait. I'm excited. The wrestling fan in me's coming out, and I love this. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I can speak from experience. Your head hits them bars hard enough, you're gonna bleed.
Yes. Yes, people say what they want to say, but what happens, happens.
I have yet to experience this new cage that Herb has put together. I know Bobby was just in it, and him and Sean Vincent bled all over the place. But we've had, Haku was in it. The Barbarian's been in it against Attila and Prater.
Yes.
We had the Purple Haze and Flash Flanagan in it, and it's never been a clean cut, easy to ref or easy to follow type of matches that happen in this thing.
Yeah. Tex, I get the short straw every time because I've done this my third. Yeah, well, third time I've been in the cage. Because Bobby D and Sean. No, who was it? I just lost my train of thought here. Flash and
Purple Haze.
Purple Haze. Thank you. My Alzheimer's is kicking in here. Flash and Purple Haze. But anyway, it's an experience, guys. You know this better than I do. It's an experience when that door closes and that cage shuts and the two combatants are in there. Referee just stays the hell out of the way. Honestly, I love that kind of match because it's easy for me. As long as I can stay out of the way, let you guys do your business. You know what? It's a great night for everybody.
Yeah, and if you get to take your shirt off at the end of it and pose for the crowd while giving it to Sean Vincent.
Bell deserved to see my man boobs, so I was proud to display that.
Oh, so for a guy who said he has a thing for Sean Vincent, and then he takes his shirt off to help him. Oh, man.
Well,
that's a public servant in him.
I'm a public servant. I was an EMT firefighter for a lot of years, and as much as Sean Vincent is a pain in our rear, can't let the man bleed to death. Obviously, he's got a family, he's got a wife, and we want him to come back another day, take another ass whipping. So,
definitely, because there's still a cup missing that someone needs to get back.
It'll be right over here with my belt.
You actually need the cup on the other side, so you have the belt and then the cup, and you
I
right in the middle.
thought it looked pretty good. I had the cup on a table. It was about yay high, and then I put the belt propped on top of the cup.
And quite honestly, guys, without a good heel, you can't have a good baby face. And I'm not a Sean Vincent fan by no means, but I'm glad we got him because man, he brings the best out in you guys when you have to work with him.
I was just watching a program on the Iron Sheik last night. There's a lot of documentaries out on the Iron Sheik, but I've never seen this one, and it was kind of interesting because they talked about it how if it was Bob Backlund versus Hulk Hogan, it probably never would have went anywhere.
Exactly.
But since you had Bob Backlund losing to the Iron Sheik, who at the time was the number one heel in the business, who was legitimately could stretch and beat the crap out of anyone with his amateur background, with his being a soldier, and yeah, it was kind of cool. He's a heel, but it showed how he became a wrestler and what he had to go through and how he actually had to escape from his homeland because the president of the homeland was actually sending word that he was next on the hit list type of thing. And for him to escape and then, unfortunately become an ultimate heel, his story was very cool. And, speaking, since we just lost him not too long ago, reflecting on his later years when he was just a Twitter, a fiend, you know, all all of his tweets, man. You had to check up on him every day because they were crazy. But
So
they talk.
I
Go
like to quote his Hulk Hogan tweets.
ahead. Just
You're right.
basically calling him a fucking jabroni. you know. Uh,
He throw a
but
brother in there.
Yes,
they
he did.
talked about how he was in demand because without a great heel, there's no baby face, no one that you can look up to, and for him to lose to, and like they were saying, Bob Backlund versus Hulk Hogan was not going to be a big draw, but Hulk Hogan taking back the title from the number one heel in the Iron Sheik. That was the draw, and that's what created the big boom. So, yes, I kind of agree with you. We need people like Sean Vincent or Attila, um, unfortunately, to bring out the best in us,
Exactly.
so we can conquer evil, so good could win. But yeah, so I agree with you. As much as I would like to just grab him and smack the piss out of
Right.
him, it'd be boring without him.
It would be. It would be. You know, I love you two. I could sit there and watch you guys wrestle every day, but at the same time, you got to have that bad guy versus good guy, and that's what I think as fans, the wrestling fan in us, I think that's part of what drew us into loving professional wrestling. We wanted to see the good guy prevail over the bad guy.
And like I would love to wrestle Billy McNeil. I've never got to wrestle him, but I do think it's safe to say that I would punch Sean Vincent in the face much harder than I'm willing to punch Billy.
I'll tell you what. There was only one time that I got in the ring with Billy, and it was a tag match. So I only had like half the time with Billy. But I tell you, I picked him up and I went to throw him, and I literally threw him almost out of the other side of the ring. Because when I'm used to like picking up big guys and then going to this, 100-pound soaking wet guy and tossing him like I would normally toss a big guy, I myself stood back like, damn, he flew. But yeah, Billy's a great guy. He's always someone in the locker room, and you can tell that people, you know, on the good guys side, the baby side of the locker room, those who will always come up to you and shake your hand and ask you how you've been, and hey buddy, it's been a while since I've seen you. How's the wife? How's the kids? Billy is always one of those guys. So definitely props up to Billy. I got to ask you, I plan to be out there early because I heard there's a breakfast place out there that does like really good biscuits and gravy and stuff like that. Uh, where's this place at, and what time
Well,
do they open?
it's called Five Brothers Cafe. Mr. Simmons and I, we did a little recon last weekend. We
Oh,
went
did
over,
you?
checked it out. It was good, very good. It's right there on the west side of Salem, off Route 50, and it's great food, great biscuits and gravy. I endorse it. It's
Wow,
You
yeah,
already
Five Brothers Cafe.
B's and G's, I'm sold.
Oh man, want to get your belly full of some good biscuits and gravy? That's the place to go.
All right, if I get my belly full and then lose because I can't move, I'm blaming you.
I get it all the time, so it's okay. Lucky always blames me. So
What's the name of that bar you said that?
called Signatures, and I don't know the address off the top of my head, but Herb did put a post on his Facebook page this evening. There's more information about it there. And the
Okay.
You said
guy
it's in
there,
Carlisle, though?
it's in Carlisle. It's on Fairfax Street, just west of the courthouse. The guy is just a wrestling junkie, and he's got so many autograph pictures lining the walls, lining the ceiling, and everything about that bar is wrestling. And this dude is just an awesome guy to talk to. He loves the business.
All right, so there you go, guys. You just need to go early in the morning and spend the whole day in Salem / Carlisle area.
Mhm.
You might find me and Bobby having biscuits and gravy in the morning and checking out that bar before the show starts.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And it's a good time.
yeah, there we go. I know last year you brought me out to the radio station that was doing some marketing for us.
Sure.
Um, what's the name of the radio station so we can kind of
That is
plug them?
sure. WJBD radio. It's 100.1. I'm sorry, 100.1. That's it. 100.1 on the FM dial.
100.1. All right.
Almost got it mixed up with the sports station, but yeah, 100.1.
I said that's 101.1.
Exactly. That's where I was getting ready to go.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. Normally we do it's been lately a 2.5 hour, podcast that we're doing, but we wanted a special podcast just to talk about this. I know we kind of went off the rails a little bit. I have a habit of doing that, but I wanted a special podcast with you on it to talk about this show Saturday. And I'm so glad that you were able to give us some of your time because I know you are a really busy man because you wear so many hats in the city of Sandoval that it's kind of hard to capture some of your or steal some of your time. So I do
Well,
appreciate you coming in.
real quick, I think we've put this in some of the posts. This is a fundraiser as well, correct?
This is a fundraiser for Sandoval Athletics. Like any small high school, we struggle financially. There's money out there, but there's kids who, for example, one of the things we do, we travel. When we travel, we don't just go 10, 20 miles away. There's times we go an hour and a half, 2 hours away. Well, kids, when they leave school, they get hungry. And when we stop, not every kid's got money. So one of the things we want to do with this money is make sure we buy every kid something to eat on the way home. Feed the
Nice.
kids, buy them equipment, buy them things that they normally wouldn't be able to buy. And that's our goal, is to help, buy from uniforms to shoes to just meals to eat on the way home. So whatever we can do to help the kids.
Very good.
That's amazing. I'm glad there's people out there in the world, in this crazy world that we live in nowadays, that still take the time to help their community, help their kids. And at this time, where a lot of high schools are dropping different studies, music, and different athletic programs. So it's nice that communities actually coming together to help support. Because I believe conversations with you last year that some of the sports doesn't even have enough people to do like a whole team. You have to bring in other
Right.
schools to actually form a league or form a team just to get things done. But I mean, it's awesome that you actually do that and not let the program just fail and get dropped. That you guys are able to come together. So, I mean, more props to you and all the officials and everyone up in Sandoval. Uh, but yes, thank you for coming on.
Oh,
I
brother.
know it's kind of a short one, but
Okay.
again, we are kind of late in the evening, but I'm just glad we were able to steal away some of your time and do one last ditch promotion for the
Oh,
show. I'm sure we're going to do great because we did great there last year. And now that we were able to do that last year, like you said, everyone's talking about the old Bobby match with Kowalski. So I'm hoping those people that have that memory come back and bring 10 of their friends and blow this one out of the water.
Oh, it's going to be great. From the Rage in the Cage, steel cage match, AIWF champion, world champion, Greg Anthony and Kowalski are going to tear it up. You and Attila are going to tear it up. We're going to see this smoking Top Guns. I'm sorry, the Top Guns. I was thinking WWE. I had WWF on the brain there, or WWE on the brain. The Top Guns. We're going to see them in action, and we're just going to have one hell of a night of SICW professional wrestling. SICW's taken Illinois by storm, taken Missouri by storm. There's a lot of good independent promotions out there, but when you want to talk cream of the crop, that's SICW, and that's what everybody in this area is talking about. And I'm glad we're expanding over here east towards Easter and end of the state. and I hope we can keep doing it. I think we're looking at working with the Central City Shriners. I'm sorry, Lions, Central City Lions, for a show at Centralia High School next fall. So that's something we're working with. And Patoka High School's talked about wanting to bring SICW in, and we're hoping maybe we can bring SICW over here more often and just make it grow, you know.
Yeah.
And what works, you know, if SICW grows, that means you guys grow. You guys are the stars of the show. Bobby D, Big Texan, and the rest of you guys are the stars of the show. We want to see you guys succeed. And that's what happens when SICW grows, you guys grow.
I tell you, the last 2 years has been like a whirlwind for SICW, you know, and it almost didn't happen because Mr. Herb Simmons almost retired on us. But I think we got a few more years in him. At least, you know, all the wrestlers pretty much told him that he better not retire.
Right.
But now we got this situation with Stephen E. wanting to buy SICW. So now we got to convince him not to look at the papers that he just received. Just go ahead and tear those up and, you know, be the one hell of a promoter that he has been and will continue to be. You know, I don't see him getting out of wrestling. This guy, you know, can talk wrestling 24/7, you know, and I just don't see it. It's even though he was never a wrestler, it's in his blood. So I doubt he can ever retire from
Herb Simmons has got too much integrity to fall for any of that sneaky stuff Stephen E's trying to pull. And I
putting
don't
up zeros in front of a check, it entices anybody though.
It does, but at the same time, Herb Simmons, he's fine. He's well off. He's got integrity, and I don't think he'll ever fall. I don't care how many zeros Stephen E tries to offer.
Ted DiBiase said everybody has a price.
Now me, on the other hand, maybe. But not Herb Simmons. No, but I don't own SICW, so hey, you're safe. But no, I can't wait. I think SICW is just going to continue to grow, and I'm excited to be part of this team, part of this family.
Yeah, same here. You know, been around the block to other promotions many a times, and SICW has always been home. Even when I thought my home was another promotion, I was able to see how that promotion turned its back on me, and you know, now SICW is the home away from home. You know, it's definitely my place. You know. But anyway, I think we got everything we need to help promote your show. You know, we're going to air this hopefully tomorrow, if not tomorrow evening, and we're just going to share the hell out of it. So hopefully, if a fan come across this in your area that doesn't know about it, hopefully we can pick them up and we can add a few more to the house. Of course, it's the house that Brandon built, so we gotta always thank our sponsor, Brandon Beretta, aka
Our
one
savior.
half of the Top Guns. You know, because he's our ambassador, so this is the reason why we're growing so much. So we always got to bring him into the fold, you know.
We love Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. We love him. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Bill. It's been a pleasure having you. I'm glad we got to talk to you about this and about this amazing card that we got going on this Saturday. And I will come to your town for biscuits and gravy in the morning, and I'm definitely going to hit up this bar because I am a crazy lunatic when it comes to old mobile. Man, I can't even talk.
Memorabilia
and autographs and pictures. I mean, I'm probably going to spend most of the time in the bar looking at pictures before the show starts. So,
well, we can always hit the bar afterwards too.
That's what I'm thinking. We do breakfast this morning, do a little wrestling in the evening, and then go hit the bar.
I don't know. We normally get out pretty late, so hopefully the bar is open, or we can bring the bar to us outside of school grounds, right, Bill? We'll just cross the street.
Yeah, they don't like me bringing alcohol to the school, so we better do it all.
That's what I'm saying. We'll just walk off of school grounds. I know how it was. I was a kid in high school who used to get in trouble all the time. You just take that road across the street, we're all good. So, but
Yeah,
again,
never did anything at school.
Yeah, I think we're all three angels.
right. All right. Well, from the Squared Ring podcast, thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bobby, for being my co-host. And if you like this content, again, please like, follow, share, comment. Let us know how we're doing. So, if there's something else we need to change up. If you want Bill back on here, let us know. We'll love to bring you back on. Maybe for Sandoval Part 3. There you go. It'd be great. But thank you for coming on, and you guys have a good night, because I'm going to.
Our brothers out.
All right. See you guys.